Hi, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Justy,
and together we're losing it. We've each lost over 100 pounds with the help of diet, exercise, and breaking bad habits. And I also had weight loss surgery in 2020.
And I recently had skin removal surgery.
We're just sharing our journey and what we've learned throughout the process.
And we're not doctors, so if you have any medical questions, reach out to your doctor.
Welcome back, friends. We are here for another episode. And if you are watching us on YouTube, which I suggest everybody does so they can see these faces, you'll see we have a repeat guest who's, I mean, at this point could just be the third member of our podcast we could be a trio, a whole girl band. We have Miss Jeannie Boyer back on. If you remember, if you've listened from the beginning, episode 18 on regain, and then episode 32, she was here with Laura Graybo on it was Holiday Headwork and Nutrition Noel. So we've had her on twice now, and we're bringing her back for a third time. This time we're going to talk about stress. Stress. If you follow Jeannie on Instagram, you will notice she's been posting making some different posts about stress, which speaks to me. I know it speaks to Justy too. As two pretty busy professional women, we have lots of stress in our lives. And when I see one of Jeannie's posts on stress, I'm like, oh yeah. So I definitely relate to it. But before we dive too deep into the topic, I'm going to let Jeannie just, even though you've been on with us before, give a quick introduction of yourself so everyone knows who we're speaking to today.
Yeah. So I'm Jeannie Boyer. I'm a registered dietitian and certified specialist in obesity and weight management. I've been working in the bariatric world for 20 years, but that kind of overlaps in just obesity medicine and weight loss. I'm going to segue a little bit. 20 years of weight loss education and nutrition education. And then just a little over a year ago, kind of fell into this training of how stress impacts our body and weight and how we can treat that. And it's blowing my mind. So that's why I'm really excited to be here and talk a little different today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I'll say, so we talked a little bit before, recording, and I don't know much about the link between stress and weight gain, or even just not even weight gain, but weight hold, I guess I'll call it for lack of a better term. And I mentioned it to Jeannie. I was like, I know the only thing that I know is that from what I hear, and you can't take everything you hear on social media as the gospel, but from what I hear, that the body likes to hold on to weight when it's stressed out. Like it's almost like it's a like there's a medical thing behind that. And I asked her, so Jeannie, I'll let you touch on that because I think it was pretty insightful what you were
Yeah.
saying
Cool.
before we hit record.
Well, first, one of the first things I learned was like our brain, like deep down, it's always just looking for safety or reward. Like everything our brain is doing, telling us to do is like to stay safe or to feel a reward. And so sometimes when it comes to weight, and I love that term, weight hold, like not weight gain.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it.
Um, you, Something may have happened in your past, something that like told your brain, your little animal brain, like, oh, weight keeps us safe. So I'm not going to get rid of this until it doesn't feel like it's keeping me safe anymore. Which is kind of hard to think about sometimes because in your like prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain is like, I know all this stuff. Like this much weight feels bad, or my knees hurt, or the doctor says it's unhealthy. I want to lose it, but why can't I? Because somewhere down deep, your little brain is saying, no, 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 like this keeps me safe.
So it sounds like my brain is a people pleaser like myself. My brain's
Right.
like, I must keep her happy and
Yeah.
safe and chubby.
Right. Right. But then there's also like stress in the moment does contribute to weight gain. Like the reaction that happens in your body of stress is like, it's called the HPA axis. It's these different glands that get triggered, and their result is cortisol. And when we have cortisol, it increases our blood pressure and our blood sugar. Because when we think about long ago stress, it was to run away from a lion. So
Right.
you needed your blood pumping and you needed some sugar to run on. But that's not how our stress is now, but we still react in the same way, which then makes us want to hold on to weight or gain weight or go to food.
Right. Because I know sometimes too, Justy, I know you have something to say. Give me 1 second. I feel like I keep talking over you. But
No worries.
when I'm stressed out, I will almost like not even knowing it, just find myself putting something in my mouth. And then I'm like, why are we like I'm like, why are we doing this again? Like, why am I eating this cookie? Why am I snacking on these chips? Like, why am I doing this again? And I have to like, it's almost like you're in a dream and you have to snap
Yeah.
yourself out of it because it's just such an automatic to go there. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, why am I doing this? And then I'll like pack it up and put it away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so automatic, it's scary.
Yeah.
And I'm opposite of that because I don't eat out of stress. Actually, when I'm stressed, I feel like I'm better. It's when I'm lonely.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's my fear, is like when I'm lonely. It started when I was a kid. That's when I started gaining a lot of weight. My parents got divorced and I was just lonely in my house all the time. And so I just ate because that made me feel comfortable. Right. And then, but when I'm stressed, like super stressed at work or super stressed, it's usually work or raising my kids, I didn't eat out of that. I ate once everything was done. And maybe it was out of stress, like the relief once the stress was
Yeah.
gone of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
then I relax. So that was my only time to like relax.
Mhm.
Um, Now I have a lot of time to relax. I don't know what to fuck do with myself. So that's stressful.
Mhm. And Justy, maybe that's where we get that kind of end of the day snack, like that nighttime snacking that we want to do. Because I think same thing. It's like today, I was super busy all day today. And I was like, wow, like I didn't even really think about food or want to snack or anything like that. But as soon as actually right before we recorded, as soon as I like had
Stop.
time to like breathe for a minute and stop, I was like snacking. And I'm like, I mean, I was due to eat something for sure, but I wasn't like ravenously hungry. But I'm like, well, I should eat something now because I'm going to record and that's going to take X. I started doing the math in my head and justifying, but probably didn't need to. I would have
Yeah.
made it without. But the fact that I was so busy, it didn't bother me then. As soon as I had like 15 minutes to myself, I was like, okay, what can I have? It's like, what?
Oh, it all makes sense. I mean, like what you're talking about, finding yourself eating the chips or whatever, and you're like, how am I here? How did this happen? Which correlates to like the afternoon, the evening of like, oh, it's finally me time, is like you've been go all day, you've been in that thinking brain all day. When you can finally process the emotions, which that part of your brain drives behavior, then you feel like, oh, we were stressed earlier and like this is what we need to do. Your thinking brain's not in control. The emotional brain is in control, and the emotional brain is like, I need some chips. Let's eat some chips. Then what Jessie said about being lonely, and that's when she eats, and like the history of family divorce and the way she felt as a child makes sense as well, because our brain likes to save things. And it's like, oh, remember when we felt lonely as a kid and like the way we felt better was eating? It's like, oh, I feel lonely, I eat. Like that, it made that circuit, it made that wire in your brain. It's efficient. And so this thing that I've incorporated into working with patients is like the terminology that we use is like rewiring your brain. So we find these circuits of like, oh, I feel lonely, I eat. And we train the brain to, oh, I feel lonely, I call Steph. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you think about it. So we're 47. Even I've said that now in like 2 podcasts in a row. I have to remind myself sometimes. And I've been obese since childhood. So we're going to call it 40 years. My brain has made that connection. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're talking about undoing 40 years worth of
Yeah.
automatic, like I'm lonely or okay, the stress is over now. Let
Yeah.
me FaceTime. So that's a lot. That's a lot to unwire. I'm no mechanic, I'm a chef.
Right.
That's a
I
lot
like
to
that. Yeah.
unwire.
No, it's the cool thing about it is you don't it's there's an app that you can use, and you can kind of train. It's like emotional brain training. So you can train your brain just in like 10 minutes a day, like, and not even at once, like 1 minute here, 1 minute there, 1 minute there. So it's really cool that like you realize this stuff about yourself and you have the tool to kind of retrain your brain.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. Like as a child when you're in school and it's like the repetitiveness of like, writing out your letters. When you
Mhm.
constantly do that, it's automatic to us now to just write these letters out. We don't even think about it. So if you just took a little bit of time each day, like reworking how your brain thinks,
Right.
I guess
It's
it's
like,
a pretty resilient little sucker. You'll have to what's the name of the app? And if you could send me info, I'll put it in the notes
yeah.
too.
So you have to join like the website with the education and make sure you have somebody training you to use it, which is what I provide and with all my clients. And then you can get the app. But if you want to just learn, read a little bit, it's called emotional brain training.
Okay.
Hmm.
I
And
like
that's
it. I like
what it is. It's interesting because I'm not a therapist. Like I've been to therapists. I sometimes joke that in the clinic, my office is like a therapist room because there's emotions, there's tears. But because when you saved Jussie, when you saved that I'm lonely, I eat, it was an emotional response. And so in order to like rewire it, we have to get emotional. Um, and so that's
Yeah,
why it's called
that's
emotional training.
my good with that. When I have to talk about my feelings, I mean, I talk about my feelings with Steph, but when I really have to talk about my feelings with in a relationship or anything like that, I just don't do it.
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
The next.
Yeah, but you don't, this is you, so we don't actually talk about feelings in the way that you think.
Uh-huh.
You go through them
Mhm.
all. So in a session with somebody, we might talk food first and
Mhm.
go through that. And then I'll be like, all right, what's going on stress wise? And we just process that stress. Like, I feel angry about it because of this. I feel sad about it here. I feel afraid. And like one on one, we might do that over the course of 20 minutes. Uh,
Mhm.
but at the end, instead of like still swirling and all that, you're just
Hmm.
like, I'm happy. This is great. That's done.
Do you
Yeah,
have
because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
do you have people that just don't really know how to identify what feeling they're having? I feel like
So
that's my
yeah,
is because I feel like I'm stressed, but I don't can't pinpoint exactly when or where or how or what I'm feeling. I just know that I'm always thinking and always doing stuff and always tired.
right. I think
You know?
that's the challenge is that always thinking. And like so many of us, like our jobs require us to be in our head. Like we are analyzing, we are thinking. And so that's part of like having someone train you in it. Cause I'm going to tell you, like, you're okay. We need to feel like you're thinking, let's get through this. Get into your body, don't overthink it. Um, if we have time, we could even do a little one. Like, let's say you're like, stressed, like, it's not one item. You just know, like, you're just feeling it.
Mhm.
Um, what we would do is I would lead you and be like, all right, Justy, I want you to say, I feel angry that, and you're going to pause and see what comes up. And so you might be like, feel angry that my house is a shit show right now.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, I feel sad that. And the thing is, you're not going to like think and then answer. You're just gonna be like, I feel sad that my mom's far away. Like,
Mhm.
so you're not, it's not you have to feel it all. It's like your body is actually telling you what's going on in your head as you
Mhm.
go through it all. Then we also get to like, I feel grateful that I'm talking to you guys. I feel happy that it's sunny outside. I feel
Mhm.
proud that I got stuff done today. Like, so,
Well, it
and
makes sense because some of that goes along with what Steph and I talk about is over time I've trained my brain how to talk myself into good things instead of excuses on why not.
yeah.
So hey, I'm going to go to the gym because of A, B, C, D, E, because I have my arsenals of why instead of, yeah, but it's cold
Mhm.
outside, this or it's that. I go to the positive ones now
Yeah,
instead of excuses. So it kind of goes along a little bit with that.
totally. Totally. Like you're just training your brain to support your behaviors that you want instead of
Right.
trying to think your way out of the behaviors that are happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
One small little like positive thought at a time. Because that's
Mhm.
how Justy lost all of her weight. One
Yeah.
conversation with herself at a time.
Right.
You know,
Right.
really funny. I was talking about this actually to a friend the other day because I used to like get really road rage when people were driving really slow or whatever because I get where I'm going. Da, da, da. And I just remember my dad one time he's like, you know, girl, you can't go faster than the person in front of you. And so now I kind of tell myself it is so logical, but
Mhm.
it's like you can't go faster than the person in front of you, no matter
Right.
how you're thinking about it or what you have no control over it. So every time I'm in traffic or I'm annoyed, I'm just like, well, I'm here. This is
Right.
where I'm gotta just let me put
Yeah.
on some and go with it because you can't get yourself stressed out because you can't do anything about some situations.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep,
And I
I do
think
the same thing in traffic. I'll say like, I mean, well, what if I get home 1 minute sooner?
Mhm.
Mhm.
1
Right.
minute, I'll be okay. I'm just gonna stay right here. Let that person whip in and out of traffic and be whatever they gotta
Yeah.
do. I don't need the ticket, they can have it. So
Yeah.
I've calmed myself down with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of times when we talk about stress and eating, people feel or have the expectation that after weight loss, whether it's surgical or not, that that's going to be gone because you've reached this goal weight or this feeling better. And I think it's a shock when the stress isn't gone, and then it increases the stress because you're like, what the hell? Why am I still feeling this way? So it just
Mhm.
pops up.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second because Justy and I both we're in maintenance and it's hard. It's the hardest part of in my opinion, the hardest part of this journey thus far is just
Mm.
to maintain because it's scary as hell to see. I experienced regain. I got myself out of it. It's so scary to see even just 5 or 10 pounds, and it's like, oh God, because my brain is trained that way because I've never been able to successfully, as many times as I've lost 50 pounds, I've gained back 60 or whatever the case is, I've always gained it back. So as soon as you start to see those changes, and it could just be an increase because it's that time of the month or because you didn't you ate more carbs yesterday than usual. The increase could be for a million different things, but my brain is like, oh, here we go again. And it's so scary to
Mm.
be here because it's like I feel like I'm like kung fu fighting and it never stops.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
exhausting. Like I
Yeah.
can only knock out so many bad guys. Like I want to stop. I want to get off this roller coaster.
Right. Yeah, that's the cool thing about this is it gives you a tool in that moment, like the moment that you think like, like why is this so hard or why am I still dealing with this or like I'm so afraid of this, you can immediately like practice the skill and not only do you feel better at the end, like actual joy, but you've stopped that stress cycle, that cortisol flow, all that stuff that was happening in your body, like you took it off. So you feel better and you like made your body better. And you just do that over and over again.
And would you say there's a difference? So me being a weight loss surgery patient and Justy not being a weight loss surgery patient, is it the same for all of us? Is it different for all of us?
The skills that you learn are the same, but of course, like the triggers that we find, the triggers that you're rewiring will all be different for each person.
Regardless, surgery or not, yeah, because what triggers
Yeah.
Justy may not, like was not lonely in my house ever. I have three siblings and my parents are still married, so like it was all six of us in the house all the time. So there was none of that. I shared a room with my sister, so I was never
Yeah.
lonely. So my triggers are going to be 100% different than Justy's will be.
Yeah. Like I've used it on my own thing with like arguing with my son and like getting so angry and so stressed about it that it ruins the afternoon. But with practicing it, I've become more patient. And not because I tell myself, oh, you have to be patient, you have to be patient. It's just because I've trained my brain so my behavior is different. Or with snacking. I am the worst snacker. I would just eat all day. Like not a lot, but all day. And I started working on that trigger, like why do I do this? And then one day I was like, oh, I had like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like just it changed. So
Hmm.
it's really cool how it can apply across anything, and really especially with eating, because so many times our eating is triggered. And stress is like a really broad term. It can be triggered by like perceived stress, whether
Mhm.
that's a feeling or a fear or a deadline.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's all fascinating to me because I mean, again, like I said, you hear things on social media and you can't believe everything you hear. So it's kind of like I look for the more science-based or doctor-based information
Mm.
that I can find versus just what like some influencer said. So
Yeah.
it's really, excuse me, really good to hear how you're incorporating it. And so tell tell us a little bit more about the program. So your program, I know you
Yeah.
said that you kind of reworked it to incorporate that.
Yeah, I've been working with patients, I mean, broadly for 20 years, but really in my own practice for 3, and it's been great. Um, but there's just like this missing part. Like somebody might see a therapist, they might see the surgeon, they might see me, but there's still like a little, I don't know what, not struggle, but just something missing. And so when I found this and started working on it with myself, I was like, this is going to be amazing. And I kind of asked for some guinea pigs. And I have one client, we've been working together for months, and she all the time, she's just like, this is the best thing ever. Every bariatric patient should have it. And she's like, I'm a hard one to convince, and everybody needs this. Um, so with working with her, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this happen. So what I've done is really shortened my program, because with the addition of this emotional brain training, we can make change happen a lot faster. So program can be shorter, which is awesome because then it can be less cost.
Mhm.
Um, and then in each session, we will work both on nutrition, making sure that the recommendations I'm giving you, the routines we're setting up aren't causing stress, that they are realistic and can be done. And at the same time, in that session, we'll do some skills building around stress management so that you're better prepared forever after. Like I call
Mhm.
it make eating easy forever, because it's not this, oh, I need a diet plan for right now, or I need to get over this hump. It's let's figure out how you can eat forever, and let's give you the skills that when shit hits the fan, you can handle it.
Yeah, it's almost like when you hear like lose it how you'll live it type of thing, like same thing because
Yeah.
you don't want to see clients come back. Like
Right.
I like you, but I don't want to see you again.
Right. 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 Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I want to be able to teach you to take these tools with you and go forward and I'll catch you at retreat or something like that. But
Right.
it's a period of time that you want to have. I would assume that you want to have a client for and then move on
Mhm.
and hopefully they can take those tools and continue using them.
Yeah, I love to keep in touch, but it's awesome when people, like, even in my old program that was like 12 weeks long, at 8, 9 weeks, people would be like, I I feel good. So we started banking sessions, like, oh, just call me when you need me. But then to combine this stress management, this really like life tool, like it's all you need. Like we're gonna be golden.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super valuable. I like it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that's really, Steph and I have talked about it so much where, like you're a nutritionist, so you can help with the nutrition and, bariatric patients, surgery patients have doctors that kind of medically can help them. I had, all the different information out there, but nobody really helps you get to the root cause or the helping you make decisions in the moment, like learning how to make those decisions and like work through your cravings, work through stressful situations. And I'm really happy that over the last, I mean, we've been doing this a year. A lot more people are starting to talk about the mindset side of weight loss and how important it is. And I think it's really cool that you're adding that piece into, because without being too lengthy here, I was doing some kind of coaching recently, and it was a lot of food tracking, and that just stressed me the fuck out. And I don't like it. And I tried it, but it makes me feel like I have to be perfect, right? And so, I have to get this 1,800 calories and this many protein and da 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 da. And I actually was like, I felt worse because I was stressed out about it all the time, rather than just listening to my body and eating and learning how to work through my cravings as I'm having them, like I've done for the last couple of years. So I really appreciate that you're adding on some mindset type stuff into your program instead of just telling people what to eat, right?
Right. Like it needs to be sustainable. Like
Yeah.
I never heard that term. What did you say, Steph, about lose it how you'll live it, or
Lose it how you'll live it. Yeah.
yeah. Like whatever we're doing together, like people don't work with me for me to check their diet recall. And honestly, I don't want to do that. Like
That's daunting.
right.
Yeah.
Like I want to send you on your way. And this is just a great combination to look at like neuroplasticity, how your brain is working, give you skills for that, and then make sure you're eating well.
Yeah. That's why
Yeah.
anytime I hear like in the bariatric world, you hear like, oh, I'm going to do a pouch reset, or oh, I went keto and things like that. It's like, if that's not how you intend to live for the rest of your life, you're not doing the right thing. Like you have to work on the forever, not just the right now.
Amen.
Right now is not going to get you there. I mean,
Right.
it might, and then you're going to end up in
Yeah.
regain.
Yeah. I'm nodding my head like crazy, and then realize like, oh, this is audio. Like I need to say, oh my gosh, amen. Well, when you said like pouch reset, it was totally unplanned but awesome segue. I was thinking like, what's the best thing I can give people, like just have it available, make it be free to get a little experience of this. So everybody wants not everybody, but the pouch reset is attractive. It sounds like this is gonna fix you, this is gonna reset you, this is 10 days, whatever they say, 7 days. So I call it the 30-second reset because it's really all it takes. And it's just a 1-page thing. You can read through it, then you've got it in your head. And when you need to reset, it's 30 seconds and you've reset and go on your way. So if anybody is listening and wants that, they can just email me. I'll send it over. Or if you follow me on Instagram, you can just send a DM of like 30 seconds and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that info in the notes as well too, because
Yeah.
it just I like a 30-second reset way better than a 7 or 10 day or whatever. And it's
Especially
not
when we
resetting
gotta
anything. We didn't
right, gotta
stretch our
drink cake.
pouches. Yeah, and that's the one thing one of the doctors from my surgical center was like, it is highly unlikely that you have stretched your pouch. It's just not the reality. You would have to do a lot of work to do that. It is that over time, this is the way she explained it to us, was that you, after surgery, your stomach is just so swollen from it just got chopped up and it takes time to get back to, so your the volume that you can take in, your restriction feels like it's less and less and less because your stomach is healing, taking all this time to heal until it gets to like a normal size. I still have restriction at 3.5 years post-op. I still have restriction. um it's just not what it was at 6 months post-op, because your stomach, I didn't stretch it. It just takes that time for it to get to like a normal place, which is why you progress in the food stages. And you can't have things like bread or pasta or whatever until really far out, because your stomach can't handle that because it's still healing. So it's
Yeah.
like when she explained that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We didn't stretch it. She was like, there's a very, very, very rare cases where people have like gorged themselves and done it, but it's not. She's like, I highly doubt any of you have, because this was in a Facebook group where people were talking about it.
I ask folks when they come like in the clinic and they're like, really stretch my pouch. I can eat so much. I don't know what to do. I'll just ask them like, how much chicken can you eat if you just ate chicken? And it's never too much. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, I can't eat like half a chicken breast. I'm like, it's not stretched. And it's blunt. Like it's not a warm fuzzy response, but it is like a truth bomb. Like it's not stretched. So let's dig into what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah, we went to brunch this weekend and I had a bunch. It's the first time I've gone to like a buffet because I don't can't get buffets money worth anymore. But I know it's a really good brunch, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it anyway, and I'll pick at some things. And the last thing I had was chicken parm. And I was like, I really want to try the chicken parm, and I got it. Well, I had already had a bunch of little bites of things. I like 2 bites into it, and I was like, I can't even. And you're right, it was
Yeah.
chicken breast. So I'm like, I started putting the chicken breast in, and I'm like, well, that's the end of that. So yeah, exactly. Once you put that dense protein in,
Mhm.
that's how you know.
Yeah.
I could eat a bag of chips easily now, but that's a slider food.
Right.
And
Yeah.
for like, it was interesting how you said that response that you had was blunt. I think what we, as people who are people pleasers and people who are typically the people who are morbidly obese, we tell a lot of lies to ourselves, and sometimes we need a blunt answer, because we will excuse ourselves to death, right? And so literally,
Mm.
and so I've always responded way better to people who are blunt, like, no, like that's not what it is, because we're afraid. A lot of people are afraid to just tell people how they see it,
Yeah.
which want to hurt your feelings. And we, as people who are people pleasers and overeaters, and we internalize all of our feelings and all that crap, we will make whatever situation work for us, right? So
Mhm.
I want pizza. Well, here's all the reasons why I should have pizza, right?
Yeah.
Asking ourselves that simple question: does this pizza align with what I want most in my life? If what I want most in my life is to be overweight for the rest of my life, cool, eat the pizza. If not, then let's make some better choices, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that people pleasing, it just adds to that pile of stress. Like
Mhm.
you got the stress of weight, you got the stress of I want to lose this weight. Then you might have the stress of like, what if I regain this weight? And then what's people gonna say? And how do I eat right in front of this person? And like, don't just
Right.
take care of yourself. Yeah.
And I think with Steph too, she's more in it now than and I'm not, but I was at one point, is having a family and children and a spouse and all the things, right? Where's time for you? And I realized that my ability to lose the weight and keep it off was when I allowed myself to take that time for myself and really just be fucking selfish, because my kids are grown. I'm going to take an hour every day in the gym no matter what I have going on. That is my space. I wouldn't have done that years ago, because it's like, oh well, I want to spend the mornings with my husband, or oh well, I need to make the kids breakfast, or oh, I need to do this, or I need. And what I put last was myself.
They need. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
You.
I'll
Mhm.
tell you, I don't want to say even lucky, but I think I've just worked myself out of that a bit because, like, for example, today, and I'm fortunate that my husband works out a lot. So that's not a problem. If I'm not doing it, he is. But I like my Tuesdays and my Thursday morning classes. So sometimes I'll work out twice because we like, let's go for a run or something later. So I'll end up doing, and maybe I'll just walk instead of run because I do pretty strenuous morning workouts. But he always wants to work out every day. He's got a plan for workout. We put it on our calendar. So I don't have to worry about taking that time for myself there. But it did take me a really long time to start taking time for myself to meal prep on
Mhm.
like because I'm like, well, if he's off on Sundays, I don't want to like take it. His like Justy said, I want to. That's like our time, and it is hard. It's hard to balance because he's not always off on weekends. So if he is, I kind of want to spend the weekend with him. We don't have days off together typically, but it's like, you know what? It's only an hour. It takes me about an hour.
Right.
I'm gonna take that. That's my hour. So that's what I ask for myself is that hour. Coming to times like this, like it kind of snuck up on me. I was like, oh crap, like we're recording a podcast. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, shit, like because we have a plan to work out. I was like, we're gonna have to push that to later. The old me would have been like, oh, maybe I'll have to change the date of the podcast recording
Mm.
because we made a plan to, and it's like, no, I do this for me.
Mhm.
Justy and I do this podcast to keep ourselves accountable and to help others. And that's a commitment that we make to ourselves and to others. And so it's kind of like, no, I don't want to put this off. because I have this other thing, that can wait. That can wait an hour. So we'll just go later.
Yeah.
So, but the old me definitely would have been finding ways to like work around that or to not meal prep or to like, oh, maybe I'll do it a different day. But it's like, no, I kind of want to do it on Sunday. And sometimes I don't do it Sunday if we have like a lot of plans or we're out of town or something. I'll do it on a Monday or Tuesday, but I really want to stick to it. Like that's just my thing. I want to stick to that. So
And-
yeah, I've gotten, and I don't even call it selfish. I just,
No.
as much as I do, on a daily basis, I just want to put those couple hours a week aside for myself.
Yeah. 100%. And I think this is not my right words, but I think I read it in Glennon Doyle's last book. But she talks about with children and how we're like, oh, I have to pack their lunch. I have to be there. I can't do this. I can't do that. I feel blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what do you want to teach your children about how to be as adults, especially if they're women? Like, you want your daughter to like go on a run. Like, you want your daughter to be like, no, this is what I want for dinner. Like, so she's not going to do that unless you do it.
Right.
What she's saying. And I'm like, ooh, there you go. And like for
Yeah.
me, son, I'm like, I want my son to be like, honey, go for a run. Like, go do what you need to do, not expect his future wife or spouse or whoever to like give up anything and everything just for him.
Right.
So, total side story, but
No,
yeah.
it's the truth, but that's how we were, and that's how Justy was, especially single mom,
Yeah.
raising two kids. That's how she was. And so she put herself off for a really long time, which I think has now, not that I'm diagnosing you over here, but maybe I am a little bit, is now taking you to that place where you don't want to let people in. Like you want your
Yeah.
little bubble of your little selfish
Selfish,
bubble.
yeah.
I'm gonna call it
Yeah.
selfish. It's fine. You don't owe anything to anybody. So you
Right.
can do whatever you want, but you're kind of like, I'm comfortable here because I take care of myself here. And as soon as I let somebody in,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for me to say no to them.
My energy goes to them. And it's interesting that you'd said that about raising your children, because I raised two daughters and I raised them by not taking care of myself. Right. So I raised them by eating like shit and not, I mean, I always worked out, but I drank a lot. I, just made a lot of unhealthy food choices and unhealthy choices with relationships that I had in my life. And I was overweight the whole time. My daughters are now overweight, right? So they have those habits. And now that I've, fixed myself or whatever you want to call it, I've lost the weight. I find myself feeling a lot of guilt because I didn't give them those skills that I should have. I didn't give those to them. So,
But you are
like,
now. Like they
I
still see you now, right?
I didn't know. And so now I try, but they don't want to listen to me.
They're not
So,
trying to hear it, right?
They're getting it. They're getting
right.
it.
But I know at some point they will want to hear it. I know at some point they will. And then I'll be a really good role model for them to look up to or to help them through it when they're ready. I wasn't ready at a certain time in my life because of this, that, or the other. And I know my girls aren't ready right now. But I'm hoping that someday they'll be like, hey, Mom, like, I see what you're doing over there. Can I come along? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes everybody has their, it's almost like an alcoholic that has their rock bottom. We have it too, we all remember that day that we were like, today's the day I have to change. Every
Yeah.
single one of us that is obese and has lost the weight knows in the exact moment that they were like, this, something has to change. And they
Yeah.
did it for good. And it's the same, every alcoholic could give you the same story of what their rock bottom was. And so we had ours too. And I think the girls will as well. They're gonna find something's gonna happen in their life where they're gonna say, and for us, it took a really long time because it's almost like, well, I'm knocking on death's door if I keep going the way that I'm going, and I'm not ready for that. I
Yeah.
don't want that for me. I want
And now
better for myself.
like you've both done such incredible jobs of getting better for yourself and losing the weight and developing this lifestyle, and like you've built up this toolbox of all the things that you need. And then this stress management, this training your brain is like another powerful tool to put in the toolbox. So
Yeah.
I would say to anybody listening, like, see what you got, see what you need, and go after it. Like if you
Right.
need a therapist to fill up your box, go get one. If you need a dietitian to look at every single thing you eat, they're out there. Or if you need like, yeah, I want to kick stress in the butt, then I'm here.
Add that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Well,
almost
and
can't add too many tools.
Right. Every little problem requires a different one.
Mhm.
I feel like if I had to do it over again, I definitely would have sought out help
Mm.
trying to figure this shit out myself. Now I figured it out myself-ish, right? I've had staff obviously along the way, and through this journey, I've met a lot of amazing people. But I feel like people who are just starting their weight loss, whether they've chosen to have bariatric surgery or not, to reach out to somebody who, like you, who can say, okay, here's just some shit you probably didn't think about, right?
Yeah.
Or kind of here's a guideline on this, that, or the other, but really somebody or something that has to do with your mental, your mindset, whether it's stress or urges or whatever you want to call it. Because actually, urges are stress. They do cause stress because then you're
Right.
sitting there,
Then you're
right?
thinking, why do I want this? Yeah.
Right. So I really encourage people to just, there's so many wonderful people out there. Obviously, you're on our podcast because we think you're freaking awesome. So, but if you're starting your journey, it's so much easier if you have a toolbox rather than trying to collect your tools as you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And also going into it knowing that that's required, because I don't think either one of us knew that was required when we started, that there was going to be more mental work that needed to be done than slapping a piece of pizza out of our hands, because that's in our control. It's in our
Mhm.
control to not have a
Mhm.
big old bowl of ice cream every night. It's in our control to not, face plant in a bag of chips. Um, but the mental part is kind of like, while it's in our control, our brains are so wired, it
Mhm.
is and it isn't. It's
Yeah.
happening behind the scenes and we don't even know it.
Right.
But
Right.
I just didn't, I know 4 years ago, I didn't know that. 4 years ago, I was in my pre-op, like trying like crazy to like go through my nutrition classes. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 years ago, it was 2020. So it was like COVID and, really just starting to like get into like trying to get into a workout routine when can't go to the gym or anything anymore. And I just, nothing in me ever thought like, hey, let's take this time when you can't go anywhere and do anything and work on the mental part of it. Cause I could have done all kinds of research. I just didn't know. I had no idea it was going to come to that. I just thought I had to eat less.
Right. I mean, that's what you've been told for how many years? Eat less, move more.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Well, and I also think that there's something in the weight loss community is, so many, I think people are starting to understand now that it is a disease, and it is something that people who have the ability to be morbidly obese, we think different
Mm.
than people who don't, right? Our
Yeah.
craving, our urges, our thoughts, our just metabolic makeup is different. And
Yeah.
it's not because we have no willpower or we
Yeah.
just are,
Yeah.
slobs and we're around watching, soap operas eating bonbons.
No.
It is disease, and it has to be managed. And it takes a team of people to manage that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, yeah, I just don't understand why my brother can't just like put down the hamburger. This person didn't know I used to be 300
Well,
pounds. And I said, well, there's a reason your brother can't put down the hamburger. Maybe next time you should be nicer to him.
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because I'll tell you, so my husband, who's never been obese a day in his life, he's a fairly small man, and so he he'll eat like a half a dive bar, and I'm like, first of all, that shit is not cheap. You're gonna eat that whole thing, so it's like I'll like we'll
yeah.
save it for later. But I'm like, who? I opened that bad boy and I know that whole thing's going down. It's never a thought in my mind that I might only take a couple bites or eat half, but his brain just works differently.
Mhm.
Or like peanut butter crackers, he'll eat like two.
Yeah.
It's a six pack. You eat those six. Like, I just don't, my brain does not work that way
Yeah.
to think like I'm going to open an individual packet of something and eat like a third of it. I'm going to, no, like that's a portion. You eat that. But
I
that's
was,
how my brain works. Like
yeah.
I open a package thinking I'm eating this whole thing, and he's like, I've had enough. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely different brains, different makeups. Like I was literally just making a reel before I got on about the fact that like obesity is a chronic disease.
Mhm.
We talked about that. Like we had a whole week about it last week. well, chronic diseases require chronic management. And so a lot of times people think like, oh, I got surgery or I lost the weight, done. But it's not. Like then
Right.
that comes that toolbox of like, what are the tools you need to manage this forever? And everybody needs different tools. Like if we all had hypertension or high blood pressure, we would all be on different medications, probably different dosages, different combinations. It's the same
Yeah.
with obesity. Yeah.
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 All right.
Interesting, because I think about losing weight when we kind of compare it to a toolbox. I remember I built my own shed one time in Florida. I'll never do that again, but I didn't have the tools I needed. So every day I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Oh shit, I got to go to Lowe's and go get this tool and come back. And then,
Yeah.
okay, this, oh crap, I need to go get these nails and come back. And that's kind of what I did with my weight loss too. It's like, oh, I'm going to lose some weight. Oh shit, I'm not capable, or I don't have the tools I need. Let me go away and come back and then let me go. So over the years, I collected all these tools like I have now in my shed in Florida that I don't use, but I can use them. And it's so important that you use those that you can use.
And what a commitment to like, okay, I'm going to go get this and come back. I'm going to go get, it's not you're done or you failed. It's like, okay, I just need this.
Instead of leaving the shed in pieces in the backyard.
Lay it in the file.
Fuck it.
It took me like 3 months to build that damn shed, but
I don't doubt it. 'Cause my
And it
husband,
also took you like 15 years to lose the weight. So it's, samesies. But look at you in maintenance doing it.
yeah. Awesome.
All right. Well, this is a really good topic, but I want to give you, Jeannie, a second to let people know where they can find you if they don't already know you, how they could sign up for your program, if they feel like this sounds like a good fit for them. Just a couple minutes to give you the floor to, let people know where to find you.
Awesome. So if you're on Instagram, I'm Bari Success RD, like BARI. And my email is just Jeannie@JeannieBoyer.com. And you don't have to, you can just say, hey, you don't have to, don't be nervous about like emailing me. I answer all of them personally. So those are the two best places. Also have a website, Bariatric Success RD. But to be real honest, I haven't updated it in a while. So follow me on Instagram or just email me.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And then you said the program originally was 12 weeks. How many weeks is it now?
It's 7.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've really I've tested it out with 8 people, and 7's great. Like we get some progress, we feel good, things are happening, and tools are set. So
is this for surgery patients, or could anybody who needs to lose?
That's a great question. For both. Like I have, so not only is it the sessions, I've realized with my own, like if I meet a therapist or if I have my own coach for something, when I meet with them, it's awesome. I'm like, yeah, this is great. She's so smart. I'm going to do all this crap. I'm writing down, I'm taking notes. And then the next day happens and I haven't done anything. And I'm like, I'm not thinking about it. So in this, I've set up emails to come like every other day that are either like an encouragement, a reminder, a little education spot, so that you really are held between sessions and it's not just left up to you to figure it out. Like you've got me like tapping on your shoulder the whole week. And I'm always available, like messaging in between. So yeah, that happens either way for people that have had surgery or not. There's like 2 separate paths.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. I'm really jazzed about it. It's been the guinea pigs have been really fun to work with. So
yeah, because it's a huge missing piece. So I'm sure they're finding it useful and others will too. Because I'm pretty interested in the more I hear about the neuro pathways and whatnot, because it's been a pretty big buzz in the last like year or so that I've heard it being talked about. So it's interesting for sure.
yeah. That's cool.
All right. Well, I know, Justy, we have our what's next, which I know we do have kind of a third part to our motivation kind of conversations that we've been having, and I'm not really sure beyond that.
Yeah, I think we were going to do the third kind of part of the motivation We might even have a third and fourth part.
Yeah. And then we're going to have to get our first quarter goal checkup too, because we're already in the third month of the year. So next month will be the, time for us to dive into how we've done with our goals thus far. So I think that'll probably be like our next 2 to 3.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited, but yeah, keep on chugging along, right? Hopefully.
Right. Yeah.
Keep listening in on you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All
right.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us again. We're about to make you the third member of the team here, the third member of the band.
I want to meet up in Charlotte so I can have a macaroon or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, exactly. All right, ladies. Well, if no one has anything else, I think we'll end it here. And thank everyone for joining us. And I know last episode we talked a little bit about if you enjoy listening to us, like, share, all the things. That's the best free way that you can help us out so we can continue doing what we do, is just download, like, share, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever it is that you listen on, and just make sure that you're spreading the good word. So help Justy and I out so we can keep doing what we do.
And follow Jeannie too on,
Yeah.
she has some really funny
Try to keep it funny.
so.
Yeah, Jeannie's entertaining for sure. All right,
Alrighty.
ladies, we'll have a good one. And thank you everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.